Fleet Commander Voreth stood on the observation deck of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He looked out at the stars with pride in his 4 eyes. Behind him, through the massive windows, he could see his armada, 400 warships, floated in perfect formation. They stretched across space like a wall of death and metal. The Dominion had sent him to conquer, and conquer he did. 3 days ago, his fleet had destroyed the Polari system. The Polari were a peaceful race. They had no real military. They had begged for mercy. Voreth had ignored them. Now their planets burned and their people served the Dominion as slaves. This was the way of things. The strong ruled the weak. Served. Voreth had learned this truth long ago. He clicked his mandibles together and made a sound of satisfaction. His hard shell gleamed under the bridge. Light. He was tall for his species, nearly 8 ft with 4 arms and a body covered in dark green armor like skin. His officers feared him. His enemies feared him more. Commander, said his aide, a small nervous creature named Tisk, we are on schedule. The next target system is 12 hours away. Good. Vorez said, what is the target called? Again, Kepler 442b, sir. A small colony world, minimal defenses. Population of approximately 2 million. 2 million. Voreth waved one of his hands dismissively. Barely worth our time. We will crush them before lunch. Tick made a nervous laugh. Yes, Commander, of course. Voreth turned back to the window. He enjoyed these quiet moments before battle, the calm before destruction. He thought about how the history books would remember him. Voreth the conqueror, Voreth the unstoppable, Voreth who brought 100 worlds to their knees. Then the censor officer screamed. It was not a shout. It was not an alert call. It was a scream of pure terror. The sound cut through the quiet bridge like a blade. Voreth spun around. Every officer on the bridge had frozen in place. The censor officer, a young male named Krillix, was staring at his console. His forearms were shaking so badly that he could barely stay in his seat. The glowing patches on his skin, which normally shone bright blue, had gone completely pale. What is the meaning of this? Voreth demanded. He marched across the bridge with heavy steps. Explain yourself. Krillix turned to look at him. The young officer's eyes were wide with fear. His mouth opened and closed several times before any words came out. Commander, he whispered, I have detected a vessel. Single contact. It just appeared on our sensors. Voreth felt his anger rise. One ship. You scream like a dying animal. Because of one ship, we have 400 warships. What could one ship possibly do to us, sir? You do not understand. Krillix's voice was barely audible. The vessel signature. It matches Galactic Registry Code 777. The bridge went completely silent. Voreth felt something cold move through his body. It started in his chest and spread outward to his limbs. He had not felt the sensation in many years. It took him a moment to recognize it. Fear. Are you certain? He asked. His voice came out quieter than he intended. I have checked 3 times, Commander. There is no mistake. Registry Code 7. Sarian. Every spacefaring species in the galaxy knew that code. It was taught to children before they learned to count. It was written in warning signs on the borders of certain space territories. It was spoken of in whispers and horror stories. Registry Code 700 meant the ship was human. The communications Officer, a female named Vitha, stood up from her console so fast that her chair fell over. Commander, the signature has been broadcast to the entire fleet. Every ship has received the identification. What? Who authorized that broadcast? It was automatic, sir. Standard protocol for unknown contacts. Voreth closed his eyes. 400 ships. 60,000 crew members. They all knew now. They all knew that a human ship was nearby. The tactical display in the center of the bridge showed his beautiful fleet formation. As Voreth watched, he saw the first ship break away from its position. Then another, then 5 more. Commander, shouted the tactical officer, the crushing wave is leaving formation. Night Terror is powering down all systems. The Dominion's Pride reports a mutiny in progress. Voreth stared at the display. His perfect fleet was falling apart before his eyes. Ships were scattering in all directions. Some were running away at full speed. Others had stopped completely, floating dead in space with their lights off. One ship appeared to be spinning in circles as if the crew could not agree on which direction to flee. Get them back in formation, Voreth roared. I will execute any captain who breaks rank. They are not responding to commands, sir. Voreth grabbed the main communication controls and opened a channel to all ships. This is Fleet Commander Voreth. Return to your positions immediately. That is a direct order. Static, then voices. Hundreds of voices, all speaking at once, all filled with panic. We have to run, pray to the old gods. Saw what they did to the sea, not dying for this. Just one ship, maybe it will not see us. Vor slammed his fist on the console. The metal dented under his strength. Cowards, all of you, it is one ship. We outnumber them 400 to 1. A calm voice cut through the chaos. It belonged to Admiral Kess, an ancient officer who had been brought out of retirement for this campaign. His face appeared on Voreth's personal screen. Unlike everyone else, Kess did not look panicked. He looked tired. He looked sad. Commander Voreth, the old admiral said, may I come to the bridge? I believe I can provide some perspective. Yes, come. Perhaps you can talk sense into these fools. Kess nodded slowly. I will be there shortly, but Commander, I must warn you, I have encountered humans before. I am the only survivor of that encounter. He paused. There is a reason. Your fleet is afraid, and once you understand that reason, you will be afraid too. The screen went dark. Voreth turned back to the main viewport. Out there, somewhere in the black void of space, a single human ship was watching them. It had not moved. It had not attacked. It simply waited. And somehow that was the most terrifying thing of all. On the sensor display, the small dot representing the human vessel pulsed with a soft red light. It was tiny compared to the Dominion fleet. It looked harmless. It looked insignificant. Voreth had conquered 100 worlds. He had destroyed entire civilizations. He had never once retreated from battle. But as he stared at that small red dot, he felt the cold fear spreading through his body once again, because deep down, in a place he did not want to acknowledge, he knew the truth. His fleet of 400 warships was not the hunter. Here they were the prey. The news spread through the Armada like fire through dry grass. Within minutes, every ship knew. Within an hour, the chaos had become complete. On the heavy cruiser Void's Embrace, 3 crew members fought their way to the escape pod bay. They pushed past their shipmates, knocked down officers, and ignored every order shouted at them. When they reached the pods, they climbed inside and launched themselves into space without even setting a destination. They simply wanted to be anywhere else, anywhere away from that human ship. The pods drifted into the void. No one went after them on the carrier Dominion's Pride. The situation was worse. Captain Morik had ordered his crew to battle stations. He had demanded that they charge weapons and prepare for combat. His crew had refused. "You cannot order us to die," screamed his first officer, a usually calm female named Setha. "You did not see what happened to the Polari. At least they were killed by us. The Scythe were killed by humans. Do you know what was left of them? Nothing, not even bones. The Scythe were fools." Captain Morik shouted back. "They kidnapped human children. We have done nothing to provoke them. Does it matter? We are a military fleet. We are exactly the kind of target they destroy." The argument ended when someone in engineering shut down the main reactor. The ship went dark. Captain Moore found himself floating in zero gravity, surrounded by his terrified crew, unable to give any orders at all. On the Eternal Conquest, Fleet Commander Vorath watched his tactical display with growing horror. His beautiful fleet was destroying itself. Ships bumped into each other as they tried to flee. 2 destroyers had collided and were now spinning through space, locked together in a tangle of broken metal. A fuel transport had exploded when its panicked crew tried to dump their cargo too quickly, and still the human ship did not move. "Why are they so afraid?" Vorath demanded. He turned to his aide Tisk. "I have conquered species more powerful than humans. The Polari had better technology. The Kree had larger ships. Why does everyone fear humans so much?" Tisk swallowed hard. "Commander, with respect, you do not know the history." "Then educate me." The small aide pulled up a holographic display. Images began to appear. Destroyed planets burning, fleets, dead worlds floating in empty space. The Kree hegemony Tisik began. They ruled 40 star systems. They had the largest military in their sector. 800 years ago, they attacked a human colony ship. They killed 2,000 human civilians. And the Kree hegemony no longer exists. Commander, not defeated, not conquered. They are extinct. Every planet, every colony, every space station. The humans hunted them for 50 years. They did not stop until the last Kree was dead. Clear's throat. Vorath stared at the images. That was 800 years ago. Perhaps humans have changed. They have not. Tisk pulled up more images. 300 years ago, the Empire tried to enslave a human mining outpost. The humans sent a response fleet. The Voluun had 9,000 warships. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Voluun Empire surrendered completely. They gave up every territory, every resource, every piece of technology. They became a servant race of Earth. The Volans still exist today, Vorath pointed out. Yes. Because they surrendered. The humans showed mercy to those who submit. Tis paused, but the Sarah Coalition did not surrender. A new image appeared. It showed a star system with 7 planets. Then the image changed to show the same system, but now there were only 6 planets. The Syrah kidnapped human colonists, Tisik explained. 42 men, women and children. They planned to study them to find human weaknesses. They held the prisoners for 3 weeks. What happened? The humans came, they took back their people, and then they destroyed the Sierra home world, not invaded, destroyed. They broke the planet into pieces. 9 billion Sirath died in one day. Tisk's voice dropped to a whisper. The remaining Sierra scattered across the galaxy. The humans hunted them. It took 20 years, but they found every last colony, every hidden base, every refugee ship. The Sierra are now extinct. Voreth felt his legs grow weak. He sat down heavily in his command chair. They killed 9 billion people because of 42 prisoners. No, Commander. They killed 9 billion people to send a message. The message was simple: harm a human and your entire species will pay the price. The bridge was silent. Every officer had stopped working to listen. Their faces showed the same fear that Voreth now felt growing in his own chest. There is more, Tisk continued. The Galactic Council keeps records. 32 species have declared war on humanity. Throughout history, 32 species have tried to destroy them, enslave them, or drive them from space, and 32 species no longer exist. Voreth looked at the tactical display. The small red dot of the human ship was still there, still not moving, still watching. They cannot have destroyed everyone, he said. Someone must have defeated them. Someone must have won. No one has won. Commander, no one has even come close. Tick pulled up one final record. Closest any species came was the Vet. Combined, they had 12,000 warships. They managed to destroy a human colony of 50,000 people before the human response arrived. The war lasted 1 year. At the end, the Vet Combine had 0 ships remaining. The humans had lost 400. They consider it one of their worst defeats. Their worst defeat was losing 400 ships while destroying 12,000. Yes, Commander. Because they lost the colony, 50,000 human civilians dead. They consider that unacceptable. They mourned for decades. Voreth sat in silence for a long moment. He thought about his own fleet. 400 ships, the same number the humans had lost in their worst defeat, and yet they had still won. They had still destroyed an enemy 30 times their size. And now out there in the darkness, a single human ship was watching the Dominion's third Armada. It was not attacking, it was not fleeing, it was just sitting there as if the 400 warships around it were not even worth acknowledging. What do they want? Voreth asked quietly. Why are they here? Unknown, Commander, but Admiral Kess is here. Perhaps he can tell us. The bridge doors opened. An ancient figure limped through them. Admiral Kess was old, even by the standards of their long-lived species. His shell was cracked and scarred. Half of his body was mechanical, replaced by prosthetics. After some terrible injury, his left eye was a glowing red artificial lens. He moved slowly toward Voreth, each step a struggle, but his remaining natural eye was sharp and clear. Commander Voreth, the old admiral said, I see you have learned why your fleet is afraid. I have learned history, Voreth replied, but history does not explain why one ship should terrify 400. Kess laughed. It was a horrible sound, like stones grinding together. Then you have not learned enough. That one ship is not a threat, Commander. It is a question. What question? The old admiral turned to look at the viewport. Somewhere out there, the human vessel waited. The question is simple, Kess said. The human is asking whether we are smart enough to live or foolish enough to die, and we have very little time to give our answer. Admiral Kesseth stood before the viewport like a statue. The scars on his body told a story of pain and survival. His mechanical leg made a soft clicking sound with each breath he took, pumping fluids through artificial veins. His red prosthetic eye glowed faintly in the dim light of the bridge. Fleet Commander Voreth studied the old admiral carefully. Kesh had been a legend once, a hero of the Dominion. Now he was a broken thing, kept alive more by machines than by nature. Something terrible had happened to him. Something that had left these scars. You said you encountered humans before, Voreth said. Tell me what happened. Kesseth was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was distant, as if he was seeing something far away. It was 60 years ago. I was a young captain then. Strong, proud, stupid. He made a sound that might have been a laugh. I was part of the Second Fleet, 6,000 warships. We were the pride of the Dominion. We thought we were unstoppable. 6,000 ships, Voreth repeated. That is more than any fleet in our current navy. Yes. And it was not enough. KTH turned to face him. We were sent to secure a region of space near human territory. Our orders were simple: establish a presence, show strength, remind the humans that the Dominion was powerful. What went wrong? Everything. Kesseth walked slowly to the command chair and lowered himself into a seat. His mechanical joints creaked with the movement. We entered a system called Sigma Reach. It was on the border between our space and theirs, not claimed by either side. We thought we were safe. The old admiral closed his eyes. The humans sent 23 ships to meet us. Voreth blinked. 23 against 6,000. Yes, I remember laughing when I saw the sensor report. My officers laughed too. We thought it was a joke. 23 ships. We could destroy that many with a single volley, but you did not destroy them. No. Kesso's voice grew heavy. The battle began at dawn by our fleet time. The humans did not wait for us to form up. They did not follow any tactic we had ever seen. They simply attacked. He opened his eyes and stared at nothing. Their ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They changed direction without slowing down. They accelerated faster than our computers could track. Our weapons could not hit them. Our shields could not stop them. They cut through our fleet like a blade through water. Surely you destroyed some of them, Voreth said. 6,000 ships must have done some damage. We destroyed 11 human ships, 11 out of 23, and we lost everything else. Kess's mechanical eye flickered. 6,000 ships, 50 million crew members, all gone in 8 hours. The bridge was completely silent. Every officer had stopped moving. They listened with horror written on their faces. I was on the battleship Righteous Fury, Kess continued, one of our largest vessels. 3,000 crew. We thought our size would protect us. We were wrong. He held up his mechanical arm. A human breaching pod hit our ship. 12 humans came aboard. 12 against 3,000 of us. That is impossible, Voreth whispered. How could 12 soldiers defeat 3,000? I asked myself the same question. I watched them do it. Kessa's voice cracked slightly. They moved so fast. Our soldiers fired at them and missed. Their weapons never missed. They worked together like parts of one machine. They did not speak, did not shout, did not hesitate. They simply killed. He touched the scar on his face. I was on the bridge when they arrived. I watched them cut through our best Warriors like they were children. I tried to fight. I lasted perhaps 3 seconds. A human female broke my arm, shattered my leg and cracked my skull. Against the wall, I should have died. Why did you not? Kesseth was quiet for a long moment. She stopped. She stood over me, her weapon pointed at my head. I could see her eyes through her helmet. They were calm, not angry, not excited. Just calm, like killing was simply work. To her he took a shaky breath, then she lowered her weapon. She looked at me and spoke. Her translator made her words clear. She said, "Someone needs to tell the others, remember what you saw here. Remember what happens to those who test us." She let you live to spread fear. Voreth said, "Yes, and it worked." Kith gestured at his broken body. I spent 10 years recovering from my injuries. I spent another 10 years trying to forget what I saw. I never succeeded. Every night I dream of that battle. Every night I see the faces of my crew as they died. He stood up slowly and walked back to the viewport. That human ship out there is small, perhaps 100 crew, perhaps less, but Commander, I promise you this, that ship could destroy half your fleet before you even scratch its hull. Voreth felt his throat go dry. You are certain? I am certain of nothing when it comes to humans. That is what makes them so dangerous. They do not follow rules. They do not fight fairly. They adapt. They improvise. They do things that should be impossible, and they do them every single time. The old admiral pointed at the distant human vessel. Look at it. It is not moving. It is not charging weapons. It is not calling for reinforcements. Do you know why? No, because it does not need to do any of those things. Whoever is commanding that ship has already decided whether we live or die. They are simply waiting to see what we do. If we leave, they will let us go. If we attack, they will destroy us, and they will do it without breaking a sweat. Voreth stood up from his chair. How can you know that? How can you be so certain of what they are thinking? KTH turned to face him. For the first time, emotions showed on his scarred face. It was not anger or fear. It was sadness, because I have studied them for 60 years. Commander, I have read every battle report. I have analyzed every engagement. I have interviewed every survivor I could find. And do you know what I learned? Tell me. Humans do not want war. They hate war. They find it wasteful and sad. They would rather trade with us, talk with us, learn from us. Kess paused, but when war comes to them, they become something else. Something cold, something patient. Something that will not stop until the threat is gone forever. He gestured at the fleet visible through the viewport. Your armada is not a threat to them. Commander, you are an inconvenience, a problem to be solved, and humans are very, very good at solving problems. Boreth said nothing. He could not find words. My advice is simple, Kesseth said. Open communication. Ask what they want. Give them whatever they ask for. And pray that we have not already done something to anger them. And if we have, the old admiral's mechanical eye glowed brighter for a moment. Then no amount of prayer will save us. We can only hope that they let one of us survive, someone to tell the others what happened here, someone to carry the warning. He turned and limped toward the door. I have told you everything I know, Commander. The decision is yours now. Choose wisely. Choose quickly, because humans are many things, but patient they are not. The door closed behind him, leaving Voreth alone with his thoughts and his fear. Outside, the human ship waited, silent, still watching, and somewhere in the back of his mind, Voreth heard a voice. It was the voice of that human female. The one who had spared Kesoth, the one who had broken him and let him live. Remember what happens to those who test us. Voreth shivered, then he turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to the human vessel, he ordered. It is time to talk. 6 hours passed. Human ship did not move. It did not send any messages. It simply floated in space, a small gray shape against the endless black, waiting. Fleet Commander Voreth had spent those hours trying to restore order to his Armada. Some ships had returned to formation, others refused to move at all. A few had jumped to faster than light speed and fled entirely, their captains choosing shame over death. The fleet that remained was broken in spirit. Voreth could feel it in every communication, every report, every nervous voice that answered his calls. His warriors had become frightened animals. They were waiting for the predator to strike. Now Voreth sat in his war room, surrounded by holographic images of his captains. 200 faces looked back at him. Some were angry, some were terrified. All of them wanted answers. We must attack, said Captain Mareth of the Crushing Tide. His voice was loud and bold, but Voreth could see his hands shaking at his sides. We have nearly 400 warships remaining. They have won. The numbers are clear. Numbers mean nothing against humans, said Admiral Vess of the science vessel, inquiring mind. She was older and calmer than Mareth, but her fear showed in the tightness of her voice. I have read the combat analyses. Their ships ignore our physics. They adapt during battle. One of their fighters held off a dreadnought for 9 hours at the Battle of Kepler Station. 9 hours using nothing but debris and creativity. Stories, Mareth spat. Old tales to frighten children. I was at Kepler Station, Vess replied quietly. I watched that fighter. It was not a story. The room fell silent. Then we retreat, said another captain. We leave the space. We go home. Retreat to where? Asked a voice from the back. Human ships can cross the galaxy in days. If we anger them, there is nowhere we can hide. Then we surrender. Surrender to what? They have made no demands because they are waiting to see what we do. The argument grew louder. Captains shouted at each other. Some called for war. Others begged for peace. A few simply stared at their screens with empty eyes, already accepting whatever fate awaited them. Voreth raised his hand, slowly. The noise died down. We will contact them, he said. We will open communication and ask their intentions. Perhaps they are simply passing through. Perhaps they want nothing from us at all. And if they want war, Voreth asked. Vor did not answer. He did not have an answer to give. The communications officer worked quickly, sending signals on every frequency humans were known to use. Minutes passed. The war room waited. Intense silence. Every eye was fixed on the main screen, waiting for a response. Then the screen flickered. Static filled the display. A shape began to form. Image cleared and Voreth saw his first human. She was small by his standards, perhaps 5'12" ft tall. Her skin was a light brown color and her head was covered in short black hair. She wore gray uniform with symbols on the shoulders that meant nothing to her. Face was calm. Her eyes were dark and steady. She looked bored. Dominion Armada, the human said. Her voice was flat without Emotion, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the USS Remember the Fallen, UR. Currently blocking trade route 77 Alpha. This route is under Earth protection. State your intentions. Voreth found his voice. Captain Chen, I am Fleet Commander Voreth of the Dominions. Third Armada, we were not aware this route was protected. We are traveling to the Kepler system for military exercises. The humans' expression did not change. Military exercises in a system with a civilian colony. The colony is not aligned with any major power. It is unclaimed territory. Incorrect. The human leaned forward slightly. Kepler 442b submitted a protection request to Earth 3 days ago. That request was approved this morning. The colony is now under human protection. Voreth felt his blood go cold 3 days ago. That was the same day his fleet had destroyed the Polari. The same day news of his conquest would have reached nearby systems. The colonists of Kepler 442b had seen what was coming and begged the humans for help, and the humans had answered. I see, Voreth said carefully, we were not informed of this change in status. You are being informed now. Human's eyes seem to look straight. Through him, you have 2 options. Commander, option 1, adjust your heading by 40 degrees starboard. This will take you around the protected route. You may continue your journey without incident. And option 2, the human smiled. It was a small smile. It did not reach her eyes. Option 2 is you continue on your current course. In that case, I will consider your approach a declaration of hostile intent against Earth protected territory. She paused. You have 15 minutes to make your decision. 15 minutes. Voreth felt anger rising in his chest. You give us 15 minutes to chain the course of 400 warships. I am giving you 15 minutes to decide if you want to live. The human tilted her head slightly. That seems generous to me. And if we do not comply, what can one ship do against 400? Captain Chen's smile faded. Her face became very still. When she spoke again, her voice was quiet and cold. Commander Voreth, I know what your fleet did to the Polari. I know about the civilians you killed, the children you enslaved, the cities you burned. She leaned closer to the screen. I am not here to fight your fleet. I am here to protect a colony. But if you force my hand, I will not fight you either. Then what will you do? I will call for help. The human's dark eyes held his gaze. And then, Commander, you will learn why 32 species no longer exist. You will learn why the Cregemony is dust. You will learn why the Sarah home world is an asteroid field. You will learn these things in the final moments of your life. As your fleet burns around you, she sat back in her chair. 15 minutes starting. Now the screen went dark. The war room was completely silent. 200 captains stared at empty space where the humans' face had been. No one moved. No one spoke. Then slowly Captain Marath raised his hand. I vote, he said quietly, to adjust our heading. One by one, the other captains raised their hands. The vote was unanimous. Voreth looked at his tactical officer. Calculate a new course, 40 degrees starboard. Take us around the protected route. Yes. Commander, the officer's hands flew across his console. New course plotted. Awaiting your order. Voreth took a deep breath. He thought about his pride. He thought about his reputation. He thought about everything he had conquered, everyone he had killed, every victory he had won. Then he thought About that human's eyes, cold, calm. Certain, execute the course change, he ordered all ships follow the new heading. The Armada began to turn, 400 warships, the pride of the Dominion, changing direction because one human told them to, and somewhere in his chest Voreth felt something break. It was not his courage, it was not his will, it was something deeper, something he had carried with him all his life. It was the belief that he was strong. Now he understood the truth. He had never been strong. He had simply never faced anything stronger until today. The Dominion's Third Armada moved slowly through space, following its new course. 400 warships turned as one, adjusting their heading by exactly 40 degrees starboard. They moved carefully, almost gently, like prey animals trying not to attract the attention of a predator. Fleet Commander Voreth stood alone on the observation deck. He had sent his officers away. He wanted no witnesses to his shame. He stared out at the stars and watched his mighty fleet crawl through the void like frightened insects. Behind them, the human ship began to move. Voreth tensed, his hands gripped the railing so hard that his claws left marks in the metal, but the human vessel did not approach. It did not power weapons, it simply glided past them, moving in the opposite direction, heading toward the colony world they had planned to destroy. As the ship passed, Voreth got his first clear look at it. It was small, perhaps a quarter the size of his smallest destroyer. Its hull was gray and covered in scars, dents, and burn marks. This ship had seen many battles. This ship had fought and survived things that would have destroyed any vessel in the Dominion fleet. But what caught Voreth's attention was the writing on the side. Large white letters clear against the gray hull. He ordered his computer to translate. USS, remember the fallen. Voreth stared at those words. He read them again and again, trying to understand their meaning. The Dominion named their ships for power, the eternal conquest, the crushing tide, the night terror, names meant to frighten enemies and inspire warriors, names that spoke of strength and victory. Humans name their ships for the dead. Remember the fallen, not a boast, not a threat. Memorial, a promise, a reminder of everyone they had lost and what they would do to anyone who made them lose more. In that moment, Voreth finally understood what made humans so terrifying. It was not their technology. The Dominion had studied human technology for centuries. It was advanced, yes, but not impossibly so. Other species had similar capabilities. It was not their tactics. Human battle strategies were unorthodox and creative, but they could be learned and countered. The Dominion had military minds that could adapt to any enemy. It was not even their aggression. Many species were aggressive. Many species loved war. Dominion itself had conquered 100 worlds through violence. No, what made humans different was their patience, their memory, their absolute refusal to forgive or forget. Humans did not conquer, they did not enslave, they did not seek to rule the galaxy. They simply lived their lives, built their colonies, and traded with their neighbors. They were happy to leave others alone, but when someone harmed them, everything changed. Humans drew a line in the sand and said, "Do not cross this." They said it quietly, politely, without anger. And when someone crossed that line anyway, humans did not negotiate. They did not make threats. They simply destroyed the ones who had wronged them completely, thoroughly, forever. 32 species had. Tested human patience, 32 species had. Crossed that line thinking they were strong enough to survive the consequences. 32 species had learned the truth. There were no second chances, there were no peace treaties, there were no negotiations, only silence, only extinction, and the most terrifying part was how the humans handled it. They did not gloat, they did not celebrate, they simply returned to their borders, their trade routes, their quiet lives. They mourned their dead, they built memorials, and they waited for the next fool to test them. The human ship grew smaller as it flew away from the fleet. Soon it was just a tiny dot against the stars, then it was gone, vanishing into faster than light travel without a sound. Captain Chen had not even looked back. She had judged the Dominion's Third Armada and found it unworthy of her attention. 400 warships, 60,000 crew members, and she had turned her back on them as if they were nothing. Voreth did not know whether to feel relieved or insulted. The door behind him opened. Admiral Kesseth limped onto the observation deck. The old soldier stood beside Voreth and looked out at the stars. She is gone, Voreth said. Yes, you made the right choice, Commander. Did I? Voreth's voice was bitter. I turned my fleet away because one human told me to. I abandoned our mission because one ship looked at us with cold eyes. What kind of commander does that make me? A living one. Kesseth placed his mechanical hand on Voreth's shoulder. I have seen too many commanders make the opposite choice. They are all dead now. You are not. Voreth said nothing. He stared at the empty space where the human ship had been. What happens now? He asked. Finally, we return home. Report failure to high command. We report that we encountered a human vessel and chose to avoid unnecessary conflict. We explain that the colony was placed under Earth protection. We recommend that the Dominion recognize this and adjust our expansion plans accordingly. They will not be happy, no, but they will be alive. And that is more than I can say for the Sierra or the Cree or any of the others who thought they could challenge humanity and win. Voreth turned away from the viewport. He felt tired, older than he had felt this morning. The proud conqueror who had destroyed the Polari seemed like a stranger now, a foolish stranger who had not understood how small he really was. The colonies, he said quietly, the ones we have already taken, the Polari we enslaved. What happens when the humans find out? Kesseth was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy. Pray that they do not care about the Poli. Pray that those planets were not important to them. Pray that no human merchants, no human scientists, no human tourists had formed attachments to those worlds. And if they did, the old Admiral's mechanical eye flickered. Then you had better start writing letters to your family, Commander, because the humans will come, not today, not tomorrow, but someday, and when they come, they will not offer you a choice. They will simply take everything you have ever built and turn it to ash. Voreth closed his eyes. Is there truly no way to fight them, no way to defend ourselves? There is one way, Kess said. Do not give them a reason to fight. Do not harm their people. Do not threaten their allies. Live quietly, peacefully, and hope they never notice you. That is not warfare, that is survival. Yes, Kess turned and began walking toward the door. Against humans, survival is the only victory possible. Remember that, Commander. Remember it every day for the rest of your life. He stopped at the door and looked back, and remember what you saw today. Remember how it felt to look into a human's eyes and know that she could destroy everything you love without breaking a sweat. Remember that. Fear, why? Because fear is what keeps us alive. Pride killed the S-wrath, arrogance killed the CTH, but fear teaches us to be wise. The old admiral smiled, and for the first time there was warmth in his broken face. You learned wisdom today, Commander Vorath. That is something to be grateful for. The door closed behind him. Vorath stood alone in the darkness for a long time. Outside, his fleet continued on its new course, flying away from danger, away from glory, away from everything he had once believed about himself. He thought about the human ship and its scarred hull. He thought about Captain Chen and her cold eyes. He thought about the name painted on that small gray vessel. Remember the fallen. Vorath made a promise to himself. He would never forget this day. He would never forget the lesson he had learned, and he would spend the rest of his life making sure the Dominion never gave humans a reason to remember them, because being remembered by humans was the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, and Vorath wanted very much to live. He turned away from the viewport and walked back to the bridge. There was work to do, a fleet to command, a future to build. A future lived in the shadow of humanity. It was not the future he had wanted, but it was the only future available to those who were wise enough to accept it, and wisdom, Vorath now understood, was worth more than all the conquests in the universe.